thin, razor-sharp blades, longer than your hand, sticking straight out of their faces like daggers. And it worked. For millions of years, these saber teeth kept appearing in completely unrelated animals. Every single time they showed up, that animal became the apex predator of its time. They dominated their ecosystems, took down prey twice their size, and ruled for longer than humans have even existed. Then, one by one, they all vanished. Not slowly, not gradually, just gone. There isn't a single animal alive today with true saber teeth, and that's weird. Because when something evolves independently 5 separate times across 250 million years, that usually means it's an incredibly good idea. So what killed them? Because once you understand why saber-toothed teeth disappeared from evolution, you realize they weren't just dangerous to their prey. They were kind of a death sentence for the animals that had them. You'd think that would explain everything, right? The teeth were too risky, so evolution moved on. Simple. Except that's not what happened, because saber teeth kept coming back. They appeared, dominated for millions of years, then disappeared, only for a completely different animal to evolve the exact same teeth millions of years later. And the cycle repeated. Cats had them. Marsupials had them. Weird extinct mammals called creodonts had them. Even some reptile-like creatures that lived before the dinosaurs evolved them. None of these animals were related. Different families, different continents, different time periods. And every single time, that animal became the top predator. Until it didn't. I'm not talking about the teeth getting smaller or evolving into something else. The entire lineage disappeared, teeth and all. No modern cat has true saber teeth. Nothing alive today has those long, flattened, blade-like canines. So, if this design was so successful, why did every single group that evolved it eventually go extinct? Before we answer that, we need to understand what these teeth actually did, because they didn't work like normal teeth at all. When a modern lion kills, it bites down on the throat or muzzle and holds on with crushing power until the prey suffocates. It's slow, exhausting, and requires massive jaw strength. Saber-toothed predators couldn't do that. Their jaws weren't built for clamping and holding. Instead, they used their teeth like knives, quick, precise stabs targeting major arteries in the throat or belly, then backed off and waited for the animal to bleed out. It was fast, clean, efficient, and it required way less fighting. That strategy worked incredibly well, which is exactly why it kept evolving again and again. The first saber-toothed animals we know of were the gorgonopsids, reptile-like predators that lived 260 million years ago, long before mammals existed. They had massive saber teeth and ruled their world. Then they went extinct. Millions of years later, creodonts evolved the same teeth. Then they vanished. Nimravids appeared. Then barberfelids. Then the famous saber-toothed cats like Smilodon, the ones you've seen in museums and Ice Age movies. Even a marsupial in South America called Thylacosmolus independently evolved saber teeth. Different family tree, different continent, same deadly design. And yes, it was related to kangaroos. Every single time this happened, the animal with saber teeth became the dominant predator in its ecosystem. They ruled for millions of years. Fossil evidence shows they were precise hunters who avoided bone and targeted soft tissue. Their teeth had serrated edges and perfect curves for slicing. Everything about them was engineered for one purpose: delivering a devastating cut and getting out of the way. But here's the catch. These teeth only worked if literally everything else about the animal was perfectly built around protecting them. You couldn't just slap giant knife teeth onto any predator and expect it to survive. The rest of the body had to be specialized too, or those teeth quickly became a death sentence. First problem, you needed massive, incredibly strong front limbs. Because before you could use those fragile saber teeth, you had to pin your prey to the ground and hold it completely still. One wrong movement and your main weapon could snap. That's why saber-toothed predators had front legs built more like a wrestler's than a sprinter's. Second, their jaws could open ridiculously wide, sometimes up to 120 degrees. Compared to a lion's 65, they needed that extra room so the long teeth could clear. The prey's neck, without the jaw itself getting in the way, but opening that wide meant they sacrificed bite force. Their teeth did all the cutting. The jaw just had to stay out of the way. The killing blow didn't even come from the jaw muscles. It came from the neck. These animals had thick, reinforced neck vertebrae and massive neck muscles because their entire upper body was driving those teeth downward like a dagger. Because of all this, they couldn't chase prey. Their bodies were too front-heavy. They were built for ambush and wrestling, not running. So they needed dense vegetation or terrain to hide in. Open grasslands were terrible for them, and the teeth themselves were surprisingly fragile. Flattened side to side for slicing, but weak against force from any other direction. Some species even evolved bony chin sheaths just to protect the teeth when their mouth was closed. A clear sign that evolution knew these weapons were high maintenance. So you had this perfect storm of requirements. Powerful arms for pinning, extremely wide jaws, a thick, muscular neck for stabbing power, ambush-only, hunting style, teeth that could break if you looked at them wrong. Miss even one of those pieces, and the whole system collapsed. Which brings us to the real question. Why did every single saber-tooth lineage eventually go extinct? Because the world kept changing. And when you're built to be perfect at one very specific thing, you're also built to be terrible at handling anything different. As climates shifted and forests turned into open grasslands, prey animals evolved to longer legs, better vision, faster running speeds. There were fewer places to hide. Ambush hunting became much harder. Saber-toothed predators couldn't adapt. Their bodies were locked into the pin and stabbed strategy. Meanwhile, pursuit, predators, and pack hunters thrived because they were flexible. Then came the fragility problem. Break one saber tooth and you were basically done. You couldn't hunt effectively. You couldn't scavenge well. You had no backup plan. Fossil records show almost no healed, broken saber teeth, meaning most animals that broke a fang probably starved to death. Every saber-tooth group followed the same pattern: rise, dominate for millions of years, then disappear completely. No gradual shrinking of teeth, no surviving descendants with shorter canines, just total extinction. So why haven't saber teeth evolved again in the last 10,000 years? Because modern carnivores are locked into a completely different game. Today's big cats have flexible spines for running, jumping, and chasing across open ground. Saber-toothed predators needed rigid, heavily muscled necks for stabbing. You can't really have both. Modern teeth are multi-purpose tools. They can crush bone, hold struggling prey, and scavenge. Saber teeth were specialists. They did one thing extremely well and everything else poorly. Evolution doesn't usually throw away useful versatility to double down on one high-risk strategy. The prey base has also changed. The giant, slow-moving herbivores that saber-tooths relied on are mostly gone. What's left are animals that are either too dangerous or live in environments where ambush hunting doesn't work. Saber-teeth weren't a mistake. They were a perfect answer to a question the Earth simply stopped asking. Given enough time and the right conditions, slow, massive prey, stable ecosystems, maybe some future predator will rediscover them. But right now, the modern world doesn't support that body plan. Saber-toothed teeth were the ultimate evolutionary gamble, incredibly effective when everything went right, catastrophic when it didn't. And in the end, that gamble failed every single time.